About a month ago, my 24 male parents, 55 female, 57 male, announced they were divorcing. This has shocked most people, as they seem to have no issues out of the ordinary. However, I've been the one privy to why they're divorcing. It's because of my sister, Anne, 26. Anne is a deadbeat. She's never worked more than 14 hours a week since getting expelled from college for multiple acts of cheating and code of conduct violations 5 years ago. She only sits at home most days watching TV or going over to her loser boyfriend's house to get high. She feels no need to support herself and expects my parents to carry her through life. She's been in therapy since she was 14, but cannot keep one therapist for more than a year because she gets dropped as a client due to her lying and inability to attend appointments. My parents have spent over a decade trying to get some mental issue pinned down for Anne, and all they've gotten is just that she's a lazy narcissist. Last year, my mom decided enough was enough and planned to kick Anne to the curb and wash her hands of her. Dad disagreed, and in the end, the two's marriage got torn apart. I know because both have come to me admitting that divorce would not even be a consideration if Anne was not a factor. I don't get along with Anne for a variety of reasons. She's always been a bully and owes me a large sum of money. The thing that boils my blood, though, is that she's oblivious to the situation between our parents, or just doesn't care. She had a literal tantrum when the possibility of the house being sold came up because she didn't want to have to move to an apartment with my dad. Last night, I found myself at my parents' house and had the misfortune of talking to Anne. Anne mentioned that she's getting really sick of Mom's melodramatic crap and not just leaving the house to her and my dad. Something struck me at the moment, and I just asked Anne if she really doesn't care that she's such a selfish garbage, waste of space, human, that she's driven her parents to get a divorce. I elaborated and told her the full truth, that she is, in fact, the only reason they're getting a divorce, because Mom's finally realized that there's no hope Anne will ever grow up. The crap storm this has caused was massive. Anne acted as if I sold her out to the Romans, and my parents argued because she deserves to know, and we told you that in confidence. Because Anne cannot keep her mouth shut either. The extended family has begun to hear too. I want to know, before opinions start forming outside the inner circle, if I am the idiot here. Nope, not the idiot. It reminds me of the story of the emperor's new clothes. Finally, someone told the truth. Daddy's girl needs to have a reality check. Sorry, but I doubt that she's going to get her crap together. But she needed to hear it. Not everything is about her. Hopefully, she can get her act together and be a contributing member of society, and your parents can get back together with some therapy. She's tried therapy and keeps getting dropped. Therapy isn't going to help unless you're willing to change and listen. Why keep wasting time and money to pay for therapy when she's not ready or willing to change? On top of her issues, her dad is another issue, since he doesn't want to evict her and is enabling her behavior by supporting her financially. I don't think therapy's going to work for those two. Correct. And let's be honest here. The sister isn't why they're getting divorced. It's the father's coddling and inability to hold her accountable, while the mother's had enough. If dad grew a pair and supported his wife, they probably wouldn't be divorcing. And good luck to daddy for supporting her for the rest of his days. Sister's claiming to be the victim in all of this and is now attacking OP. Honestly, Mom might even go no contact. If all she does is screw up everything she touches, what's the point in having Anne around? She'll likely be abusive and nasty to her mom for not just giving her the house and abandoning her. Anne is a darn adult who needs to be left to sink or swim alone. I'm sorry that your father's so sweet that he's volunteering for this. He and your sister have made their choices, and I would wash my hands of them. I recently bought a semi-detached house, and it's proving to be a lot more work than anticipated. We're having to rip everything down to its bonework. My new neighbors are a bit elusive. I know there's at least a dad and a daughter, and the daughter has additional needs. We've been working for 3 months, and she has screaming fits every time we work with anything remotely noisy. There's also a son, and I know there's at least a mom somewhere, but I've never seen her. Recently, we've moved to the bathroom, which lines up with their daughter's bedroom. Now, the bathroom has been the worst room yet. Everything has to go. Sink, bath, shower, toilet, windows. Even the walls have to go. It's bad. We started 4 days ago. Immediately, she started screaming so loud, we could hear her over the tools and through our ear protection. When we continued the next day, her dad banged on our door, explained that she's autistic and we're invading her space. Apparently, the vibrations through the wall shook something off a shelf and broke. I apologized, and he seemed happy with that. Later that evening, he came back, clearly in from work, and started laying into my brother, the one helping me, and me, calling us inconsiderate idiots, and left again. Yesterday, he was red in the face with rage, asking if we're really that heartless to keep overwhelming her. I did catch sight of his daughter, and she did look distraught, so I apologized again, but explained that I had to do it. Today he came knocking again and demanded we move on from our drilling. He explained that his daughter hasn't been able to recover from meltdowns and that it's been a constant battle for days. He and she both are exhausted. I apologized again, but told him it was his job as a father to help her cope, and we shouldn't have to hinder our work for a child we don't even know. He left really angry, and my wife has been giving me the cold shoulder ever since. We're expecting, and she's called me an idiot, saying we would expect the same decency when our baby arrives. I understand why the dad is annoyed, but I'm on a time crunch, and my brother and I are doing this solo, obviously excluding the hired help for things I'm not well versed in. We're continuing with our work, but my wife still isn't talking to me. She called me an idiot, and I've been delegated to the couch. The neighbors also seemed pretty angry when we left. So am I the idiot? Edit, I work. So I work in the house whenever I can. It's not really something I can adapt to. I usually get to the house at about 5 p.m. and always stop before 11 p.m., as is the law here. But drilling, I do keep it to before 8 p.m. She's around mid-teens and is definitely still awake at 11 p.m. regardless. I can hear her music and TV show, and occasionally her calling for someone for whatever reason. You're doing this between the hours of 5 and 11? You are the idiot. Wow, dude. No one wants to come home from work and put up with that noise. If you can't work on it during regular hours, you should have hired somebody else to do it. Living next to this construction noise every night from 5 to 11 p.m. would be a nightmare, no matter what. You indicate that you're doing a teardown DIY reno on an attached house, exclusively after work hours, with just one other person. So construction starts at 6 p.m. and lasts long past a typical kid's bedtime because quiet hours legally start at 11 p.m. And you're doing this for weeks on end? Instead of hiring help and blasting through sooner or taking work days off, you save money, but your neighbor suffers greatly. I hope they don't take pleasure in waking up your sleeping baby. Exactly. OP is starting a war, and they haven't even moved in. Of course his wife is mad. Imagine having a newborn and trying to put it at sleep at a decent hour, only to have loud neighbor noises. She knows it's coming. I'm honestly surprised none of the other neighbors have complained to you, because I'd be angry if someone was doing major construction after 9 p.m. My sister-in-law, my husband's sister, gave birth to her son recently, and during her pregnancy, she confided in me that her husband wanted to name their son after his late father. The idea isn't something sister-in-law was opposed to, but the name had a lot of negative associations with her, or to be more specific, one major negative association. She wanted to say yes to her husband for him, but she admitted that just hearing the name again made her go back to a very painful time in her life, that she was worried that she hated the name too much to ever truly love it or her son after what happened. I encouraged her to be open with her husband and to not give in to the name just to please him, because she didn't deserve to be traumatized every time someone used her son's name. She asked if it made her selfish, and I told her no. If her husband couldn't understand why it would be hard for her, it would make him selfish. That they could always think of some other way to honor his father, but that name would always hold bad memories for her. We talked about it a lot for close to a month, and she told me that her husband had said no to the name, that he was hurt, but they were going to give their son a different name. After their son was born, sister-in-law's husband learned what we had talked about, that I told her not to use the name to please him when it would come at her expense. He was angry. He told me it had not been my place to get involved, and by saying what I did, I discouraged her from trying to reach a compromise of using it as a given name and giving their son a nickname to be fairer. He told me he had not been able to comfortably honor his father and that it was all my fault, and he felt I should mind my own business in the future. I didn't tell my husband or sister-in-law. I want to know, am I the idiot for what I said to sister-in-law? Not the idiot. This husband sounds like a controlling idiot. He not only doesn't care about his wife's trauma, but he also thinks he shouldn't be able to confide in a close female relative. Red flag. I hope you and your husband will stay close. It sounds like sister-in-law may need your support. Yeah, a giveaway that he's a controlling idiot is that he thinks a compromise to naming the kid what he wants is to name the kid what he wants. Instead, he should be worried about why his wife couldn't be open with him from the start about what happened to her and why the name was hurtful to her. Not angry that somebody who supported her helped her to find her voice and explain to him. What a loser. Also, you discouraged her from reaching a compromise? What kind of compromise is there? Either a child has a certain name or they don't. The compromise could likely just have been arguments to diminish her feelings. OP, you're a good friend, and I hope your sister-in-law feels comfortable to keep advocating for herself if her husband tries to do something like this again. And tell your husband immediately. He needs to know that another man is comfortable confronting you for supporting his traumatized sister. If he has so little concern for his wife, he'll have far less for you. I'm on maternity leave, as I just had our baby a few weeks ago. Maybe this is why my tolerance is 100% gone. Since my car's head gasket blew, my fiancé had to pick up groceries for dinner after work, but he works right directly beside the grocery store, so it's not out of his way, and would literally take at most 10 minutes to grab groceries. We live 15 minutes from both his work and the grocery store. But as of maybe a week and a half ago, he stopped going to the grocery store after work and just came home and would leave a couple of hours later to go back to the grocery store, complaining the whole time about not wanting to drive. I'm so tired of doing everything and not having time to myself to relax. By the time I have finally convinced him to leave and go pick stuff up for dinner, it's almost 7 p.m. every single time. Never fails. And it could have all been avoided if he had just taken the time to walk the 5 feet to the grocery store before coming home every day. Well, last night he got home at 4:30. I specifically asked him earlier in the day to grab groceries before coming home, but he didn't because he, quote, just wanted to come home. He played with the baby for maybe an hour before I asked him to get dinner because I was hungry for once. I've barely been able to eat since having the baby because food is just gross to me right now. He said he would in a bit and sat on the couch with a beer. 45 minutes later, he got himself a bowl of cereal and sat back on the couch. So I grabbed the baby and his keys and just left to go grocery shopping myself, and I took longer because I did a big shop, so I don't have to depend on him anymore. Maybe 30 minutes later, he called and asked where I was and why I took his truck, knowing he didn't feel it was safe for me to drive. I said, I was done waiting for you. I was hungry. You didn't care, so I did it myself. If you didn't want this happening, then you should have just gone to the store before coming home. He says I'm an idiot for taking off with the baby without saying anything to him, and that I should have just waited until he was ready to leave. Edit, just to clarify, he said the power steering was going, and that's why he didn't want me driving it. but the power steering was 100% fine. It drove normally with zero issues. I've driven his vehicle plenty in the past, but ever since I had the baby, he doesn't want me doing anything or going anywhere. This is the first time I've gotten out of the house, other than our baby's doctor's appointments in 5 weeks. The power steering was an excuse at best. He won't buy groceries that last more than a day. The truck is in my name, so it's not considered theft. All my family and friends are in Maine. He moved me out to the middle of nowhere in Arizona last year because he was depressed and needed a change. I don't know anyone here. There's not even an Uber or Lyft in this area. Not the idiot. I'm sorry, but it sounds like he's keeping you a prisoner in your home. Not out for 5 weeks? That's ridiculous. I'd tell him to watch the baby when he gets home and go without him. He needs to get over whatever insecurities he has about you living your life with a baby. Your fiancé is awful. It sounds like he just wanted to trap you into having a kid. Agree. This sounds like a power play, especially as there's nothing wrong with the car. I will leave the baby with him next time. Better still, leave him altogether. To get food for just himself? What an idiot. Why did you have a baby with this selfish person? I suggest you look at alternative arrangements that don't make you, and now your child, dependent on him. This is giving me the heebie-jeebies for you. Something here needs to change. Girl, think it's time for you to move back to your family. He moved you across the country, isolated you from everyone and everything, and now controls your every move? This is not okay. Do not marry this guy. Get a hold of your family and see if anyone will help you get back home safely. These situations tend to escalate into violence. Even if they don't, that's no way to live. When my girlfriend, 27, and I, 28 male, moved in together, she quickly decided she wanted her own bed and bedroom. She did not like being next to me and said that my moving and snoring made it hard for her to sleep. I didn't like that I slept better with her, but I was okay to compromise, even though it made me feel lonely. Soon after that, we got a puppy, which is now an adult. Once the dog was potty trained and could climb on her bed, she started allowing the dog in her bed. I see them looking so comfortable in there, and she even catches and cuddles her while sleeping. Sometimes they even share the same pillow. I feel like she's being a hypocrite since she sleeps so well with the dog. I tried getting the dog to sleep with me, and she does, but then she goes away to my girlfriend after an hour or so, and I have to sleep alone. I told her how I felt, and she said I'm being unfair, as it's not the same, and the dog doesn't disturb her. Am I the idiot here? You are the idiot for calling her a hypocrite and a liar. You're just more annoying to sleep with than a dog. It's weird that you're viewing this as a conspiracy. My boyfriend snores, is a wild sleeper, and always hits me somehow while sleeping. My dog doesn't do any of those things. I sleep fine next to my dog, but my boyfriend, not so much. I'm a super light sleeper, and my fiancé snores loudly enough to drown out white noise machines and earplugs. I would also wake up whenever he'd roll over to get up and use the bathroom. We tried the same bed, and I was literally crying due to lack of sleep. He also likes to stay up much later than I do, so we sleep in separate rooms. I'm happier getting quality sleep, and he's happier not hearing my alarm at 7 when he doesn't have to be up until 9 or 10. Separate beds saved my sanity, and it sounds like you're not thinking from her point of view. You may have to decide if this is a deal breaker for you, but calling her excuses fake just because a dog doesn't affect her sleep isn't right.